Hello and welcome to KPod, the podcast about Korean American arts and culture from Korean American Story. I'm Catherine Hong, a writer and editor.
I'm Juliana Sohn, a photographer.
Today we're in Beacon, New York, where we're excited to speak with Oejong Kim, the co-founder and creative director of the yarn and knitwear company Loopy Mango. Now, for those listeners who do not knit and may have never set foot in a yarn store, we should probably explain what makes this company so special. Founded in 2004, Loopy Mango has a cult following among knitters. Their signature product is a luxurious merino wool called Big Loop, which is the thickest, chunkiest yarn on the market. Loopy Mango has a very specific aesthetic, and when you meet Oejong herself, it all makes sense. She wears her gray streaked hair long and flowing down her back and finishes the look with her signature oversized spectacles in red or canary yellow. She's the embodiment of the artsy, eccentric Loopy Mango look. She was born in Korea and attended college in Japan, where she lived for several years. In New York, she was working in real estate when she enrolled in a fabric painting workshop at FIT. That's where she met Anna Pulvermacher, a former software engineer and aspiring artist who is now her business partner. Loopy Mango is now carried in stores across the country and around the world. Next fall, she and Anna will be publishing the first Loopy Mango book with Abrams. We're so pleased to be interviewing Oejong today. Welcome, Oejong.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. I would love to ask you, when I started knitting in 1999, and the knitting scene was so different than what it is now. And when Loopy Mango first came on the scene, it was this big event because it was so different from everything else that was there. Your signature yarn, Big Loop, is so distinctive. It's like delightful. There's a cartoon childlike quality to it. Can you tell us how you came up with the idea of such a thick yarn?
We used to have a store in Soho, and we had this knitting class. And people, in New York, are so busy, they can make even second session. So Anna and we thought about a lot how bring people come back and knit. And so there wasn't really a really chunky yarn out there. You can make a project within the classes. So then we start researching market and start developing our own yarn. So the Big Loop, actually you can make a hat for complete beginner within 20 to 30 minutes.
I have a question about the big yarn because I think of that look as so integral to your design, your vision, but you're saying it was really for kind of pragmatic reasons.
Yeah.
So how did you shape that together? Because it now seems like that's all you want to work with. You're not making this yarn because you have to teach a class in an hour. So
when we developed the yarn, I came up all kinds of ideas. So this yarn wasn't like very crafty. You can actually make like architecture object with it. So I like the idea that it's just not just craft, but also you can create so many possibilities. I mean, you can create so many things.
I feel like when you came up with this Big Loop yarn, because it was so new and different, for anyone who's not familiar with knitting, a very bog standard needle size for yarns is like a size like 8, pretty average. It goes down to like ones. I think, does it go down to zeros?
0 to 100.
Yes, 0 to 100. And Loopy Mango occupies a 35 to 100 needle
15
size.
to, yeah.
So it's 50 to 100?
100. So 50, even 35 up to 100, there wasn't on the market. So we created actually market. So nobody wants to even make the needles for us.
Exactly.
We had to convince the manufacturer and put a lot of big deposit, and they start making for us. Then they see it's moving. Now they're like kind of copied our.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we
you created a whole market.
Yeah, I think the big chunky yarn, and in terms of the needle, we create the market.
Yeah, because now you do see this chunky knit in a lot of stores, but it's not Loopy Mango. It looks
Yeah.
like it's acrylic or something
Acrylic, yeah, because we're very specific about what we are doing. We only want to use 100% natural fiber, and also where it came from, the sources. So this like wool is a commodity, so we can't control the price really. So we do whatever we can do, but yes.
One thing I was struck by was when someone told me how cultishly revered your yarn was, and how she had to save up her money to buy, a couple of skeins that she was lusting after. And it is quite expensive because it's sourced so well. So what gave you the bravery to, as new entrepreneurs, to say, I'm going to make this crazy big yarn and I'm going to charge what it's going to cost me, which is not insignificant. It's kind of ballsy. How did you...
It's same as the fashion industry. You like right now it's mass produced. Like if you go Forever 21, you buy $20. Like even dress, but it's disposable, and you wear a couple of times, you don't feel good anymore. Like compared to good quality clothing. I think like our yarn is the same thing. Like we are not intend to make a big mass produce. We can go China and actually make cheaper yarn, but that's not what we likes to do. I want our consumers are more cautious what they buy, and instead of buy like 10 things, buy one good thing and last forever.
So when you introduce a distinctive yarn like Big Loop and you have to manufacture your own needles to accommodate it, not only do you need to make the needles, you need to come up with the designs.
Yeah.
So the proportions and it's so different. And so not only are you a business person, but you are also the designer.
Yeah.
And so you come up with garments, home items, sculptural items. I see chandelier covers. And so can you talk to us about this vision? It's almost like a lifestyle brand.
Well, yeah, it's lifestyle. I mean, when I go to... Before I started business, I had to, I have no idea because I was a beginner knitter. And when you go to yarn store, they're not very kind, actually. They think you know about knitting. That's why you come and buy things. So I had to go to buy like one yarn, one store, and then they don't have a color I like. And I had to go uptown, downtown, and then I have to look for knitters. So I thought, if someone just present me like this design with everything I need, that would be so good.
A kit.
Yeah, that's how I come up DIY kit. And is that right?
No, you're absolutely right. The knitting stores are not very friendly.
Yeah, they don't know the beginner.
Yeah, there's almost like this hierarchy.
Yeah,
like if you're worth their
you don't
time
know,
or not.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting that you said that.
But also the design out there, I wasn't really liking those things. It was, it's beautiful. I love the techniques and everything, but amount of money, time, and effort is not very useful for me. It doesn't go with my lifestyle. So I was, I can make this thing. So I had to kind of create the stuff goes with my lifestyle, with my wardrobe, and
I
that's
have a question about your wardrobe because Juliana and I are very struck by your personal style. Are there designers that you love? I don't know if you still read fashion magazines, but are there artists whose work you love or designers who've influenced your eye?
Yeah, I like Dries Van Noten and Comme des Garçons, Who else? And I like everyone actually. Everyone. It depends on the piece. But yes, my favorite designer is Dries Van Noten because he's also very hands-on, like textiles and craft. So, and I'm very thrifty actually.
Right.
I buy a lot of my stuff at thrift store like Goodwill, Salvation Army. So when I design pieces, I also very thrifty. I try to make the best out of the material, so it doesn't cost too much to our customers.
Right. Maybe we should describe what you're wearing today for those who can't see. So Oejong is wearing a suit, a houndstooth jacket and pants,
$7.
a red ruffled blouse,
$1.50 in LA.
and some brogues, men's style brogues.
This one actually I got it on sale some shoe store. But also my accessories, not today, but or thrifty very. We don't have this in Korea, so I really love this idea recycling and sustainable fashion.
Yeah, the whole idea of used clothing is so
yeah, in Korea it's like only poor people.
my mom could never get her head
Oh,
around
no.
that concept. You came on the scene right as these fiber arts and these handicrafts were really taking off. Not only is knitting having a resurgence in popularity, but weaving, spinning, and embroidery is making a huge comeback.
Yeah, huge renaissance right now. I think one fact was the recession. Because of the recession, people want to make some. They didn't really travel that extravagant thing, but they want to do making little things, more experience. But also like knitting, crochet. Also like a stitch embroidery, it kind of skipped one generation. So they used to see, like I used to see my mom doing it, but and especially America, people, young people say like they don't see her mom doing it, but her grandma does, and they don't have this preconceived notion that knitting is like not cool. They actually think knitting is cool. Like because doing something with their hands, it's cool.
Maybe we could now go back to your earlier career because I'm interested in the fact that you started off working as an interpreter. And before that, attending school in Japan. So tell us a little bit about how you decided to go to school in Japan.
Yeah, that was, I always wanted to go abroad. So Japan was very close to Korea. So my parents agreed me to go school in Japan. So that's how I went to Japan. And then I got a degree in Japanese linguistics, and that's how I became an interpreter. So I worked freelancer for a few years. Then I opened a fusion Korean-Japanese fusion restaurant in Nagoya. That was like for 3.5 years. Then I decided to come to New York, USA.
And as a kid, were you very creative? Did you ever think about becoming an artist or going to art school or
Not
fashion?
really. I always liked art, but I never thought I had a talent. But also like in Korea, craft and even art wasn't that popular. So, you want your children to become a lawyer or something more stable. Yes. So it wasn't like, I wasn't really interested in anything like that. But I learned knitting when I was I guess around 9 and 10 years, but I wasn't interested in, but I stopped doing that like for a long time. That after I came to America, I found the crochet hook in my suitcase, and I always wanted to do something with my hands. And I went to Barnes and Noble and went to the yarn store, bought a book and bought yarn and start crocheting, and it was so much fun. I couldn't stop doing it. So at that time I met Anna.
And when you were in Japan, did you just love it? I mean, there's a reason you stayed, right?
Yeah, I love Japan because it was very, to me, it was very free. Like Korea was very, especially when you're a woman, it's very suppressed. What do you call it?
Yes.
So you have a social like attitude. You're woman in certain age, you have to behave like in a way the society wants you to be. But Japan was like everything was free. When I go to Harajuku, they dressed up like freely. They smoke cigarette on the street, women and men. Like, and it was 90s in Korea, women can smoke on the street, you know.
Yeah.
So it was very free to me. And then learning different language was so excited.
Well, I think it's interesting that you've lived such an international life, and you've lived in Tokyo and you had a store in Dumbo, but now you're in Beacon, New York, which is this pretty small town, a little bit more than an hour away from Manhattan. And you say you don't drive that you love to sit in your house working.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what you do, like your routine.
My routine in the morning, I walk the dog and feed dog and cat and make a coffee, then I start cleaning. And then after that, I probably make a sample and read some books and knitting all day long.
Because you seem so cosmopolitan, right? And you've had a very international life, and now you're a homebody?
Yeah, because when I was in 20, even 30s, I was looking for like purpose or looking for things I really love to do. So that was my journey. Like I had a job and I had a restaurant. I was an interpreter. Like I worked for company. Whenever I think like everything is stable, I get bored. Like I want to look for something else. That's why I came to US. And then when I find the knitting and crochet, I couldn't stop doing it. So I was like completely feel like complete. Like I didn't have to go make friends or drink, or it seems to me it's a waste of time.
I see. It's time away from your
Yeah. So right now I'm completely like content.
Your role during the pink Pussycat Hat, because that was a moment a lot of women started knitting and they all wanted pink yarn. They
sold out
tell
the
us
pink.
about...
So we found out through Instagram, the founder of Pussycat Hat project. One of them was our customer. So we had a trunk show, one of our wholesale account in LA. Yeah, she's Korean American, Krista. So we found out that she's doing that. It was just the beginning few days. She just launched it. I said, "Oh, I want to participate in some way." So I had actually the hat looks like a cat. So why don't we donate this pattern? So that's we donated pattern and people start making. There is a couple of other patterns too. So I was very happy to a lot of people.
Loopy Mango pattern for the pink Pussycat Hat. You were one of the originals?
Yeah.
Or maybe the originator?
We were not the original, but we were one of the first.
Yeah, she has 3 different patterns. So one of them is ours. So we knit up some hats. We donate the hat and the pattern. So we went to Women's March not in Washington, D.C. We were in San Jose.
And you wore your
Almost
own
cried.
hat.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It was so powerful and beautiful.
Now, I'd heard that one of your best-selling products is a ready-made product, which is your Helsinki Hat, which is a hat, like a stocking cap that you can make, maybe in an hour or two.
Yeah.
And that this hat went viral a few years ago. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I think it's around 2015. We had this called Helsinki Hat. You can make it in 20 to 30 minutes. And there was in department store in Galleria in Gangnam. And we had our Korean partner had a pop-up shop. And some Korean supermodel came and took a lesson, and she was wearing it. And it went just viral. In
Do you
Korea,
know the name of the model?
I can find out.
Okay. Did she post it on Instagram?
Yeah, she did post it on Instagram. That's how it went like viral in Korea. Like if famous person has things, everyone has to have it.
So then what happened?
What happened was like we're starting getting these orders from a lot from Korea, but a lot and like all over the world from Korean people who live in Australia, Canada. They start placing order, and at that time we had a store in Soho. Sometimes the people lined up outside of the store,
my gosh.
and that we know like something happening in Korea.
People probably ask you all the time, where did you get the name Loopy Mango?
Loopy Mango. So it come up at our friend Anna, and we had a friend. My sister used to live in Guam, and she had an email address Mango. So whenever I get the email, I feel very exotic and happy. So we are trying to name our company, and one of our friends said, "You guys are very loopy, but also it's a connotation of loop. Why don't you call it Loopy Mango?" I didn't even really knew the name meaning loopy, but it's very catchy and cute, and he said we are very loopy, crazy.
I thought I read
very...
that Loopy Mango was named after your pets. Am I wrong?
Oh, the other way around. So I had German Shepherd, female. So I named her Loopy, and still have an orange cat named Mango because he's orange.
I would love to talk about your partnership with Anna. I think it's always so lovely to go on a journey with someone.
Oh.
I know that for me, being a photographer and working on my own, it gets lonely. You have to self-motivate. And the fact that you two are so close, that you moved to Florida together, and that you have this business. I would love to talk about how you support each other.
Not every partnership works out very well. And we actually had a third partner, and she quickly vanished. Like she was Anna just met her. I mean, they became friends. She was also Russian who just came to New York, so she didn't really participate much, and we barely pay rent. She said, "Where is my salary?" So she doesn't have the concept that, when you own your company, you have to make.
You have to own it.
Yeah. So, and one day she just decided to quit. Anna is my partner, but I don't know. We can be so different. We're so different, but.
And the two of you, when you decided to relocate to Beacon, you also bought a house together. Is that right?
Yeah. So she's like a business partner, but it's like more like family. She's my sister from different mom, and I can completely 100% trust her, but she's been there for me. Like,
Would you share with us a little bit about what is striking a nerve today, if you're comfortable?
nothing.
Everything.
Everything. She's very strong woman like me, but she's very fair, and she's very loyal. In terms of culture, well, she's Russian, I'm Korean. I found a similarity in Russian culture and Korean culture, but also she's a little loopy.
I'm curious about your family. So, do your parents, it doesn't seem like you have any children. Do you get any pressure? Do they seem disappointed that you haven't produced a firstborn son?
I think my family is also loopy. So my father passed away, but he and my mom was very open-minded, and I think she's a little different than traditional like Korean moms. So they don't really give me the pressure that you have to be like this. She wishes I had children, but now I'm like past it, and so I don't know. My family is a little loopy too. So I'm very lucky in that sense.
They supported
I don't
you.
have
I mean, you went a different path, and
Yeah.
it sounds like they didn't give you a lot of friction for that.
No. So I'm very lucky in that sense. I don't have the pressure, but also even if I have the pressure, I do what I want to do.
So following you on Instagram, I feel like I'm getting a sense of your whole vision, your life, and it's not just clothing, and it's not just yarn. There is a real sensibility about like quiet time and having tea, and your projects where proceeds go to benefit women who are running for office. And how does that influence your company and your values?
So my life has not been like this. Like finally, it became more organized. So I moved from Japan to here, and I studied the business. So it was like more chaotic than now. And Anna was married. She got divorced, and then I got married, I divorced, and I moved the store location like many times. And also we moved from like New York to Massachusetts, Florida. And last year we moved to Beacon, and finally I can sit down and have a tea. But before that, like everything is in order in my mind, but everything was kind of chaotic. But now like everything is come to like that stage.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thanks, Lika.
Thank you for having me.
KPod is a production of KoreanAmericanStory.org. Our producer is Kevin Park, our editor is AJ Valente, and our executive producer is HJ Lee. You can email us with comments and suggestions at KPod@KoreanAmericanStory.org. You can see my portraits of all our podcast guests at KoreanAmericanStory.org. You can follow me on Instagram at Juliana_Sohn. For news and updates on KPod, follow Korean American Story on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.